Hola, clase de español 1. Vamos a empezar con capítulo 2.1. I hope you guys all did well on your first test. Remember that if you did not do well, you can always do a makeup or retake within the next week or two, and must be before or after school. Feel free to get with me in advance to set that up, or you can stop in any time, and that'll be perfectly fine. We are moving on. We have a lot to work with this week, so let's go ahead and take a look at both the pronunciation as well as definitions of each of our words. We'll go through them kind of quickly. Remember that if you'd like to pause along the way to write things down in advance, which I strongly recommend, feel free to do so. You can also use this as just a training tool for yourself as well. So let's go ahead and get started here. Nuevo vocabulario y gramática, new vocab and grammar, talking about what you want and need. So obviously we'll be using words like necesitar, which are to need, and querer, which are to want. We'll be seeing some versions of those throughout the course this week. Let's go ahead and begin. El bolígrafo is the pen. El bolígrafo. Bueno is good. Bueno. La calculadora, the calculator. La calculadora. La carpeta, the folder. La carpeta. El colegio, the high school. El colegio. El cuaderno, the notebook. El cuaderno. El diccionario, the dictionary. El diccionario. El and ella are both subject pronouns. El is he and ella is she. Notice that there is a little accent above the word, or above the E and L. That accent basically means that it's he. If that accent were not present, or just EL without the accent, then it would be the subject pronoun the. La goma de borrar, the eraser. Sometimes we just say la goma for eraser and we leave off the de borrar. The literal translation is like the gum of to erase. So that's a little awkward, so sometimes we just shorten that to la goma. El lápiz is the pencil. La librería is the bookstore. Looks a lot like the word library. That's actually a false cognate. Librería is actually a bookstore. El libro, the book. El libro. La mochila, the backpack, or la mochila, backpack or book bag. Necesita means he or she needs. Necesita. Necesitar, to need. Necesitar. Necesitas, you need. Necesitas. Necesito, I need. Necesito. El papel is paper. El papel. Querer is to want. Querer. Some conjugations of querer are quiere, he or she wants. Quiere. Quieres, you want. Quieres. Quiero, I want. Quiero. La regla is the ruler. La regla. Tengo is I have. Tengo. Un is, un, una, unas, and unos are all indefinite articles, and they mean, un and una both mean a or an, and unas and unos both mean some. Now the difference will be whether or not you're referring to masculine, like an un and unos, versus feminine, una and unas, as opposed to singular, un and una, or plural, unas and unos. I know that can be a little bit confusing. We're going to shore that up in a bit. The word ya means already. Okay. Sample sentences. We'll be translating these in class and practicing them in class, but very quickly, ¿Qué quieres? Asks, what do you want? Quiero una mochila. I want a backpack. Sí, él quiere una mochila. Yes, he wants a backpack. ¿Quiere Paco una mochila? Does Paco want a backpack? ¿Qué necesitas? What do you need? ¿Necesitas papel? Do you need paper? ¿Qué necesita merche? What does merche need? A lot of times students look at the word merche and try to figure out what that word means. That's actually a person's name. I guess that would be considered similar to a Marcia or something to that effect. Necesito un cuaderno. I need a notebook. No, ya tengo papel. No, I already have paper. Ella necesita muchas cosas. She needs a lot of things. The literal translation would be like, she needs many things, but we would probably say a lot. Ella necesita muchas cosas. Bien, and that will be like the front side of your vocab sheet. We'll have some slides that we copy down as well. We'll go ahead and take a look at those right now, and here it is for chapter 2.1. This is just a little bit more with agreement. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. Let's make this bigger for you first, sorry. Excellent. Okay, so first item, making nouns plural. To make a noun plural, add s if it ends in a vowel. Diccionario would become diccionarios. Add es if the end ends in a consonant, like papel ends in a consonant, the letter L, so we would change that to papeles. If a noun ends in a z, change it to a c and add es. So if it ends in a z, change z to c and add es. Lápiz is an example of that. The word for pencil becomes lápices with a ces at the end. How would you change the following nouns to make them plural? Cruz, well, that would become cruces. Luz, that would become luces. And ves would become veces. In all of them, you would change the z to a c and add es. Cruces are crosses, luces are lights, and veces are times, in case you wanted to know the English translations. Next, indefinite articles. These are the words for a, an, some, or a few. In Spanish, they are un. Whoops, messed up, sorry about that. Un, una, unos, and unas. Like definite articles, they must agree in gender and number with the nouns they precede. So, for example, if you wanted to say a notebook, well, the word for notebook is cuaderno, so you would have to say un cuaderno for a notebook. But if you wanted to say a folder, it would be una carpeta, not just carpeta. Now, if you want to change that to some folders, una carpeta would become unas carpetas. Unas carpetas, some folders, or some notebooks, unos cuadernos. So I'm always looking at whether it is singular and masculine, singular and feminine, masculine plural, or plural feminine as well. So those four categories we're always looking at, okay, and making them agree in both gender and number. In a negative sentence, articles are often dropped. Let me put myself up there. In a negative sentence, articles are often dropped. Example, no necesito bolígrafos. All right, I don't need pens. Instead of saying I don't need some pens, no necesito unos bolígrafos, I can drop that since it's a negative sentence. That's a common thing in Spanish. Last one, subject pronouns. These are 4 important subject pronouns. We've actually looked a little bit with these already this year. Yo is I, tú is you, él is he, and ella is she. These are very important. There's actually 10 subject pronouns that we'll look at total this year, but these first 4 are very, very important for, at least for the singular subject pronouns. We'll get into the plural ones like we, you all, and they, and various forms of those. But at this point, I, you, he, and she. Yo, tú, él, and ella. And that ends the most amount of our grammar for this week, the vast majority of it. We'll probably be practicing the words querer and the verbs necesitar in class a little bit more. Might add another slide to this later on, but all of that information is already on your vocab sheet as well. I hope that you enjoyed this screencast of more agreement. I hope you love my pun. That was intended. I'll make sure that everyone pays attention to that in class too. So hopefully you guys are having a great weekend. I hope that you all viewed this in advance. But if you just have to watch this because you missed a day or because you're trying to get a little bit of extra review in or something to that effect, that is fine too. Have a great rest of your week. Hasta luego.